Hi, welcome to 20 Questions. This is Joey Busuttil from Secret Men's Business.
Hi, and I'm Kim. Hi, from Her Tribe Within. How are you today, Joe?
Oh my God, you've got like the X-Files. Oh my God, the X-Files. Remember that show?
I even love it. There's a cow being taken off by an alien.
Yeah. Oh, no, that's a person.
It's
It's a person.
oh,
It's a
damn.
person.
I thought it was a cow.
That's a person upside down. That's his
Oh,
legs.
that's awesome. There you go.
And I'm like in the Twilight Matrix.
Yes.
So in today's show, we're going to be talking about 20 questions on conspiracy theories. And I think, the last 2 years have really opened up. I didn't really know about conspiracy theories that much until COVID.
Yeah,
What about you?
Yeah, that's right. Because I think it's the first time we've sort of been, I guess in a bit of a petrified state looking for answers, and then all these things come up, and a lot of whether or not they're conspiracies to do with COVID, but it's sort of extrapolated to some of the older conspiracies that maybe have led to where we are now. So it's been a really interesting
there's been a lot of conspiracy theories before, hasn't there? But I guess for me personally, I haven't really paid attention. Were you? Did you notice the other ones?
I think when I was at university, I got heavily involved in the aliens being concealed back in the days of ET.
Oh, like Area 51. Is it 51?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and that was more to do with, I think there was a lot of music video clips based in, all those sorts of.
Well, let's start with that. I think that is a big one and a very good one that you bring up, because I think now we're being told subtly that it's not a conspiracy. Because recently, right, all this time before they say, oh, no, there's no such thing as Area 51. No, there's no aliens. But recently, have you noticed how NASA have actually confirmed that they've noticed flying activity with the Air Force?
No, I didn't know that they'd come out.
Yeah, and they released footage of this, like these senior people from the Air Force flying, and then they videotape this thing following them, and they're admitting now that it's extraterrestrial. It's not Russian. It's not. So that was big. So I thought that they're actually maybe something big's going to be exposed soon, and they're just preparing us.
Awesome! It would be so awesome.
But what do you feel about that?
Well,
do you feel like it's real?
I feel it's really difficult to explain to my children that we are the only planet with human life or intelligence. Like, to them, in one breath I'm saying the universe is infinite.
Yeah.
In which case, if it was infinite, then you would think we would get to the point where we would repeat the same situation that planet Earth is in.
Yeah.
And in the next breath, I'm like, oh no, aliens aren't.
And there's Santa Claus and all that, so there has to be other life, other places.
Maybe Santa Claus is an alien.
Does it make? Because do your kids get scared, or are they okay with that whole concept? Because I used to get really uncomfortable thinking that there's aliens and all that. Because I think the movies made it scary, didn't it?
So I guess that's deepening the conspiracy, though. Is that the reason why movies made it scary, so that we would be repelled against any of this research that's going on? Whereas if they made them out to be awesome, incredible creatures that were going to help us enrich our lives and become better souls, then maybe we would have not worked to the way they wanted things to go.
Yeah, I do think that the media, that the Hollywood and the media has been a tool by the government or for a very long time to actually just show us things that we need to learn.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they show us things subtly, and sometimes you go, oh my God, that was so long. When I saw Blade Runner, for example, with flying cars, now we're entering a time that's going to become reality soon. So it's like an introduction.
Yeah, it is, but it always makes me wonder, and all of this, I was actually not going to say this to the end, that why is this stuff, who is at the base of this orchestrating us in these directions? Who decided? Like, somebody in Hollywood had the foresight to know.
Hollywood is the tool, the person that is in the government.
I know.
It's either CIA, or FBI, or if you believe in the Illuminati or things that are bigger.
Yeah, exactly. So every conspiracy we talk about tends to lean on another, doesn't it?
Mm. Well, I'll give you an example of something, right? So I worked for the government during COVID to do something with in regards to sex and COVID, right?
Yep.
And I had to do this thing with apps and discuss things with apps. Now, I was told that we weren't allowed to talk about it, so the public couldn't know, because that would cause panic. Now, that's a little baby thing, right? So once I was involved in that for like 2 days, I thought to myself, you know, the
What's the
intensity
bigger
of
picture here? Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
And so other things would not be told. Like if there was an asteroid coming, I
uh,
don't think that they would be telling us on the news.
no,
Can
no.
you imagine the toilet paper panic then?
I know. You're wrapping yourself in toilet paper to
So,
protect
how do you
the
feel
asteroid.
when you see someone that says that they've seen aliens or they've seen flying saucers? Does your heart tell you that they're crazy, or
Well,
does your heart tell you that it's true?
it's funny, isn't it? Because there's a part of me that cannot resist this lovely idea that it is true, but there's another part of me that just really finds it difficult to accept it. So, because I went to remember a while ago, I went and saw is it Mike Dooley from the Universe Talks,
Mm.
and he talks in such an accepting way of alien life. Like there's some story, I haven't read enough of his books to be able to tell you what his side is, but he just openly talked about this alien being that was part of a collective consciousness in the universe, you know. And I remember I had this internal resistance to hearing that it was just part of normal. So it's an interesting question, but when push comes to shove, I believe in aliens.
Yes,
I'm just not sure that they would take any form that I would recognize.
yes.
What about you?
And well, I don't know about the video thing because I think that we're in a world of people just doing deception, you know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I did see something recently on YouTube about this guy that it must be a magnetic connection because everywhere he goes, he will always see something, right? So
Yeah.
people didn't believe him, so he started to invite people, like 3 people, to different locations, and so it wasn't just one place.
Yeah.
It could be here, right?
Yeah.
And every single time they all saw alien ships and they filmed it. And it looked like liquid, right? It was just liquid. And I looked at that and I just went, okay. I sort of felt like that wasn't someone that was trying to make money or someone that was trying to do
No,
a
it's
scam.
a
It was just,
phenomenon. Yeah.
he just feels that because he's open, that's their transmitter. That's how they
Yeah.
talk to him, right?
And
Then
similar
they
to what
then
I
they interviewed other people that have the same thing. So
Yeah.
you're in bed, for example, and you wake up and you automatically know you've got to go outside and there's a ship.
Oh my word.
I think I'd be scared though if I saw that.
I don't yeah, I'm
If I
glad
saw
they're
that,
not calling me.
I wouldn't be happy. I wouldn't be happy.
You'd be buying toilet paper.
No, I just don't want to.
I know.
You know.
Yeah.
So can I extend on this topic? So what about how do you feel about quantum time and like the fact that we're living in the same moments? Like, you know, have you seen Interstellar?
No, I haven't. Tell
Oh
me.
my God.
Tell me. I know
What?
you know I'm behind on all
You're
this stuff.
such a girl.
I have a life.
So Interstellar is about about time, and that everything is happening like forever. So the same event this event's happening a trillion times, but it could be altered, right? And
Yep,
so you know,
Yep.
so it's So what do you think about that? Do you think that time is now, or do you think that time could be infinite, or do you think that time is irrelevant, or do you think that we are, that we're actually, when you have deja vu?
Yes. Yeah.
I would love to time travel.
I know. It would be amazing.
It would be amazing.
I kind of, me with my environmental panic, and we'll get to those ones in a moment, but I kind of like that idea that we are in a parallel, that there's multiple, because that means that if I'm stuffing up my timeline, there's hope in another.
Yes. I mean, because we're both
Yes.
hypnotherapists, is that really could that also be a definition to past life regressions?
Well, that's what I'm thinking. Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's that strange, like deja vus to me I always think, oh, this has either happened to me before, or this is something I've got to learn, or something energetically awesome is happening here. Whether it's parallel times. But then I guess if we had proof of all of that,
well, there is
how would
proof.
you live your life if you
There's evidence of that. There's evidence apparently that people are traveling.
Yeah, but
so we are having situations, but we don't know. Again, this is the conspiracy part of it.
Yeah,
that we don't know that there is actually portholes. So people from the past and the future are traveling and manipulating things
that's so cool.
in the different parallels. And the reason why I brought it up is because there's a new movie that comes out on Prime Amazon, which is all about, it's the biggest Hollywood blockbuster. And I always think there is a tiny little bit of connection to reality, because the theme of that movie is it's 2050 and the world's under attack by aliens. And so they travel to 2021 to recruit people to go fight. And they go through the...
And do you think someone from the Illuminati wrote this script?
No, I just think that there are possibilities of things.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
You know what I mean? I really am open to whatever what if it's true?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
I don't like it when people go, "Oh no, that's not true." Like in reality, right? As much as we don't, like for example, as much as we don't want to believe or accept, there are concepts that may be a lie.
Yeah, and there's truth in the fact that there's, we sort of have conspiracy and non-conspiracy. What if the non-conspiracy is the conspiracy? Like, we don't
Yes.
know that.
Well,
So
what do you think a conspiracy is? How do we define? We haven't even defined that because you know the word conspiracy was created by the government in America to deceive people about things that were going on with the war. So they created the conspiracies, but then now people have now made it into something bigger.
taking their own things, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I was going to say, because to me, conspiracies, if you were going to be really negative on conspiracies and say they're all just this sort of busyness that people get caught up in, then my question would be, it would be interesting to know why people move to conspiracy. So is it often from a place of panic that you look for an answer that isn't like in the box that we've been given?
I
Like,
don't know. I think it's that it's more about that people want to know the truth. So
yeah, but
they
I
know.
think,
See, the thing is, there's the sheep,
yeah.
right, that believe what we're told. Like, I think if we're gonna let's just use
But
an
the sheep are
example.
happy. That's what I mean. The sheep are happy. The ones that are
The sheep are
listening us are
manipulated.
not
I'd
happy.
say manipulated. When you think about
Yeah.
the thing, say for example, we look at the past and how cigarettes is a good example.
Yep.
People were told in the 50s and 60s that smoking was good for your health,
Yeah. It's true. They were
right?
actually prescribed to people.
And so, but no one ever admitted still haven't done it to this day. They have not
Right.
admitted about no one from that company or those companies have actually admitted to us that. So that's a conspiracy in a way. That
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Because they will, if you ask someone from those companies, they will still say they don't believe that it causes cancer. Isn't that terrible?
I know. Well, then I guess a conspiracy has another definition, and that would be manipulation, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Well, I just think a conspiracy is someone's opinion. I think the word opinion should be used because as soon as you hear the word conspiracy, like, think about all the conspiracies last year. COVID's not real. COVID's this,
Yeah.
COVID's that. They're all opinions, but we call them conspiracies because people wanted to only believe one thing.
Yeah.
That's the whole idea.
Yeah.
Conspiracy makes you use those opinions to dismiss them because we dumb them down,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? People say that's not true. That's a
A dismissive
conspiracy.
word, isn't it? Yeah.
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 Give me one. Give me a conspiracy. It's your turn.
Well, what I was going to say about the environment, so that being of whether or not global warming actually exists.
Yeah, I don't know. Like that's I think that we're now realizing it's probably maybe the word is not right,
Mm.
right? But you realize that word is a political word.
That the word,
The word
yeah,
global warming is a political word, but the reality is, as much as we can be political, how do we explain what's happening? Like I watched like something yesterday that shocked me. America had a temperature of 59 degrees.
oh my gosh, that's off the.
First time ever.
How did
In
they?
Arizona, right? 59 degrees. And they were showing a park and everything was melting.
Oh wow.
Welcome to 2021. Like, if people turn around and say there's no global warming, then how do we explain that?
So the arguments that people are saying against global warming is that this is just a natural highs and lows that are going to happen over time.
They haven't. They need to watch what's his name, Adam Burrows documentary that's recent.
Oh no, I know. So that would break my
And he doesn't
heart.
talk about that. He talks about we've been living in this 10,000 year bubble, and then in the last 100 years we created carbon.
So then I guess this sort of, to me, leads towards the idea that this conspiracy, if global warming was a conspiracy, let's play it that it's completely made up. Maybe global warming is a conspiracy, but it was used to manipulate us into being better.
Yes, and it's still being used.
So then is that okay then? Is it okay?
No, because we're the dumb ones. So I want you to think about the supermarket for a minute. If you look closely, everything now has got the word green on it.
Yeah, I know.
Now, so everyone's green, right? But when you strip it back, those companies are still polluting the world.
But without having a,
and we feel consciously better now.
Yeah,
look, I bought my green
I think we're waking up now, though. But if we hadn't had that phrase coined, and I remember in primary school, like taking out CFCs and polystyrene packaging and stuff, and that being big. If that hadn't have been marketed in that way, would we have just been oblivious?
Well, you've got to ask yourself what the advantage is. So I believe that everything has a reason, right? So I really think that the reason why we have this term is because there's a group of people somewhere that want to promote like battery charged, electric cars sort of thing. And to do that, you need to bring down
Coal. Yeah.
coal and petrol.
Yeah.
Right. So you need to bring it down. So everything is not just beautiful. Look, this is just my opinion, people, but I think we're all selfish. I don't think that we really do care. I think that we still buy plastic. We still do things. We don't realize, but we still do it. If you think about, I cry when I see the orangutans, for example, right? But I use palm oil and things I don't even realize.
No, I know. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a hard one.
Yeah, it is. And a lot of our choices feel like they're out of our control, but they actually aren't. We're just being lazy.
Well, how do you feel when David Attenborough tells you that you've got till 2030?
I know.
So does that create a ticking like clock for you, or are you just going, I know? You know what I mean? Like, we've all been told we've got till 2030.
I know, but
right? We all know we're not going to make it.
No, I know. It's terrible.
We're not, are we? Because the way that we're going to make it is that we have to rebuild all those forests.
Yeah, we have to do so much.
I know, but can you see those forests being rebuilt and all the petrol companies saying, yeah, we'll give it all up? I think that we're going to be surprised. I'll be old, thank God.
Well, let's hope that the aliens come and whisk us away to another planet so that we can.
I'm sending him to your house. I'm not going to the aliens.
You're that scared of them. I think they're loving beauty. I'm thinking E.T. With the finger.
Yeah. E.T.
That was my favorite movie I ever watched. It was beautiful.
So, what do you think about the moon landing?
Oh, I had that on my list too. Yeah.
So do you think that was? You know how there's all that talk about it wasn't real? It's all staged, and Stanley Kubrick directed it in Hollywood, right? Like, so I always watch the moon landing, and I always feel like something's not right. Like, I feel like, how do they get technology on the moon, right, when they've never done it before, and it's so clear and crystal, and everything seems so perfect? And you do know the other side of the conspiracy is that the actual moon is hollow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the moon is hollow, and it's actually the conspiracy is that apparently things live in there. It's apparently a big spaceship.
The moon is a spaceship. That's a cool movie.
When you look at the moon through a telescope, you can see right through it. Have you done that before?
No. Have you?
Yeah, like I've done it heaps of times. When you look at really with a good telescope, the moon is actually translucent. And also, the moon doesn't move, right? So you got to remember that. So we always see the same side. And what the conspiracy is that on the other side, that's where the spaceship's going.
The dark side of the moon.
And, when you see the craters aren't deep enough, apparently. So they're being dinted. So the moon isn't a rock or like a planet. It's actually a different substance.
Really?
I don't know. I like to know stuff. So you believe in the moon?
Yeah, I think maybe I believe too much on my science education.
What do you believe about that they landed on there?
I believe that they landed on there, and I saw an interesting I don't know what you'd call it, like segment from a movie producer who said it's interesting how we all assume that we didn't have the technology to get to the moon, but in actual fact, we didn't have the technology to fabricate the shadows and the lights that are on the moon. So it has to be true. So there's always someone who's got. I mean, you can manipulate any information, can't you?
Why would they want to do that anyway? I always ask why. Why would they why would they tell the whole world
they landed on the moon when they did
it? I guess if you believe the covert conspiracy, why would they tell the whole world this as well? Like,
that's true.
I mean, so what do you think about? Like, do you think that they got there and why have we? I always want to know why we haven't gone back. Like,
because there's nothing there.
No, but apparently Elon Musk wants to build a thing on there.
Yeah, well, that's going to happen. But then we're just going to be destroying more planets.
I know, but the Earth is dying, darling. We have to look for a this is where I join everything up, right? So if the planet is dying and they're looking at going to Mars, that's telling me that there's something going on.
We can't live in Mars; it's impossible.
I know,
but the moving to Mars thing was a conspiracy too, wasn't it?
Well, it's
happening,
but he's spending a lot of money to do all that stuff.
But didn't that end up being exposed as another fake?
Well, NASA doesn't say it's no.
Because there's this post that gets around about this woman who was going to be the first woman to live on Mars, and she recruited all the science training and stuff, or the space training, and then found out that the Mars mission isn't even happening, so it wasn't actually a real thing.
Yeah.
Something.
I wish I was a fly somewhere. You know what I mean? I want to be a fly
on the wall. To see what's really
anywhere. I just want to know what's true. I want to know if Donald Trump really has but how he tans his skin.
Yes, wouldn't that be great? So wouldn't it be great to have the this ginormous chronicle of the world, how it actually truly really is?
Yeah, I know. Like, the funny thing is, if we actually really pay attention, you know how we see all these movies and all that now
Yeah.
about the past, and they tell us the truth.
Yeah, yeah,
So it doesn't that give you? And I give me evidence to think if that was happening then, how there was all these conspiracies then,
yeah,
right? And that means that really the conspiracies that are now, some of them may be true.
yeah, yeah.
Like for example, like Britney Spears, right? And we were talking about this before we went on there.
Yeah.
So, I still can't. I find it still hard to believe that for 13 years no one did anything.
So can you talk me through what's happening with Britney Spears, or what the
So, yeah.
conspiracy is?
So Britney Spears was, the story of Britney Spears from the past.
Yes, yes.
Right. So she was unfit, right? And so she she had postnatal depression.
Yep.
She was a star at like 16, 17, and no one, back then, no one said, "Are you okay?"
Yeah, yeah.
Right. So it's appalling.
Yes.
Secondly, then when it unraveled, she was interviewed and everyone made a joke of her.
Yep.
Right. So from that perspective alone, she was mentally
Yeah.
unstable, right?
Yeah.
So what they did was that they created a conservatorship, which means someone else looked after her financial estate because she was making a lot of money and they didn't think that she was fit, right?
Mm.
But then they also said that they wanted to create one for her personal well-being.
Mm.
And the person that took that on was her father.
Yep.
So as soon as she got sick, right, and that happened, which really is about old people, really,
Yes.
you would think that she would rest,
Yes.
wouldn't you? But if we look at his timeline, she created a #1 album and she traveled around 100 countries.
So she wasn't actually being. Yeah.
Well, they kept saying that she was mentally unstable, but she couldn't get her own lawyer. She couldn't leave the house. She was not allowed to have a phone, but she could go on tour and she could do all of that, right? And they still. So and the little hook in that is that her father said, if you don't do what we tell you, you're not going to get to see your children.
Oh my gosh.
So she just said, I'm going to do that, right? And after the tour, they promised that they would end it. So that was 2 years after. But what they did instead was they kept drugging her. And she became more crazy. And we thought, as people looking, we just made fun of her. But really what was happening was her father and the 2 managers were milking her for millions.
So what's the ramifications now? Are they
Well, now she's never spoken out before because she's been scared.
Yeah.
Because her father would, I guess, it's like being kidnapped and you just end up surrendering, right? And she sort of compared it to sex trafficking.
Yeah.
That she's being used. Because, you got to remember, right? Every cent that she makes, all the people that work for the father get paid.
Yeah.
So if they let go of the conservatorship, no one gets money.
So they've almost got their own little
agenda.
Yeah, or their own little secret society.
If you look at the documentary that she did in January, you would be mortified. Yeah. Imagine you from 13 years ago working 7 days a week, 10 days a week, 10 hours a day, and you're not allowed to see anyone or have a break.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't know. Can I just say, between you and I being a mental health therapist, I think that if a man was to have gone through that, he would have died by now. He would have killed himself. Right. Yeah. I have so much more respect for her because she was able to use her strength because she wanted to not stuff up her children.
Yeah, as a mother. Absolutely.
Because they kept it's more about the fact that that was the leverage.
Yeah.
If you don't do the concert, if you don't do the album, if you don't wear this clothing, you will not see your children. So she just conformed, the poor thing, until now she freaking has spoken and the world has heard her.
Yeah.
So that's the question is, everyone is saying that she's under that situation, but the father's saying it's a conspiracy. The father and the team are saying that she's still unfit. She's mentally unstable. So they want us to believe, right? Because you got to remember, all the things that we saw on TV back then, the father paid.
Yes.
The father told the paparazzi that she was going to be there.
Yeah,
so everything that we saw was feeding the lie of her being mentally unstable. And we bought it. So do you think that it's true, or do you think it's possible?
Well, it feels possible. It does, doesn't it? But then all of these things, but then, how do you prove one way or the other? And
well, there's proof, thank God, now, because it's been going for a long time. I mean, normally a conservatorship is about like a parent who has got dementia.
Yeah.
So for me, and then the other thing that they did, what they don't want her to get pregnant, so they inserted a pregnancy thing so she doesn't get pregnant. Isn't that terrible?
An IUD. Oh my gosh.
Yes. And they only give her salads. She can't eat and she can't have a phone and she can't, it's just intense sort of manipulation. And so there's a lot of documentation, right? But the thing is,
who's documented?
Well, there's everything, there's always, like, for example, if you want to get an interview with Britney, right, it's apparently that harder to get an interview with Britney than it is with any world leader.
Wow.
So there's evidence from people seeing things.
Yeah, okay.
The father gets paid $60 million apparently.
Oh,
why? He's got no experience in show business.
No.
So I just am shocked that we let it happen.
Does she have siblings?
Yeah, and everyone in the family's on the payroll.
Oh my gosh.
So this is a really intense moment where people use another person. So Britney is the boss, but she's been told what to do by them.
Yeah.
So the question is she stable or not stable? If you were a woman running a concert and you organized a choreography and you sang, do you think that you're mentally unstable? That's the question. Is she unstable? Or is it possible for her to do that and still not know how to handle her money?
Well,
that's the thing. Is she unstable to handle millions and millions of dollars? But she's 39 years old.
You could also say that unstable people can be quite creative, can't they?
Well, let's spin it a little bit. Johnny Depp went through the same thing. Why isn't he under a conservatorship? He was an alcoholic.
Yeah,
why is it that this person is chosen?
Yeah, yeah.
Why? If it was a man, men are not targeted the same way.
No.
Why? But I think there's been worse people that have done things, and why aren't they under the same situation? Like Harvey Weinstein, all those people.
Yeah, yeah.
So
well, hopefully this is a conspiracy that we can get to the bottom of. But I think you've hit the nail on the head with all of these things. That human greed fuels a lot of it, doesn't it? That's entire.
It made me just put another. Like, think about Harvey Weinstein, and then now all these different blocks, right? And you now have I'm getting a clearer picture of the manipulation that people in that world.
And the
I'm hoping to God that girls and boys who see this story don't want that anymore.
No, I hope so.
They want fame.
Yeah, but not at the cost of a person.
I know, but that's something they don't realise. I think people in that world that are the what do you call it? The product.
Yeah, yeah.
They're used.
Yeah, yeah.
And so we just look at the product and think that they're independent, but they're not.
No. Oh my goodness. Well, you've taught me something. Thank you, because I've been seeing all of these posts.
I've done so much research.
I know. It's been your thing, hasn't it?
Well, I want to know the truth. I don't want to say anything until I know what it means. So now I feel like I know a lot of stuff. So what else do you want to ask?
I want to know. I had a conversation with somebody about the Illuminati and this secret society stuff. That it all originated from Macedonia.
Massachusetts.
No, I've heard Macedonia.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I think that there is such a thing. I think that there is an organisation or a group of people.
International, or do you think it's just an American thing?
Yeah. Well, we've got to think about where would billionaires and people with power and money, they would hang out somewhere.
Yes.
Right? There's always been gentlemen clubs and all that. So it really is, if you've got a lot of money and you have an opportunity to control things, say you pay for all the things that people need, right? Because you've got to remember, the biggest conspiracy of all is that you do realize that every single country in the world owes money to the World Bank. Yeah. And the World Bank is owned by the Rothschilds. Yeah. So that means that the World Bank owns the world, really.
You actually just reminded me, it was not that long ago that all of those philanthropic movie stars were going to jet in their private aeroplanes to meet on this multi-million-dollar yacht to decide how they were going to combat global warming.
Yes.
Like the future of our planet.
Yes.
Down to George Clooney.
It depends on their money, their funds, right? Because the government doesn't really have a lot of money. Like, I just learned recently that LA, right, for example, was one of the countries that the Olympics was at. They just played the Olympics off just recently from like 30 years ago. So, and like America's got trillions of dollars in debt.
Yeah.
So we keep forgetting that there's this debt. So in reality, the money that is in the countries like are not. It's not the country's money. It's money that they've borrowed, and it always
Yeah.
comes from the same place.
Yeah.
These
Yeah.
people that you're talking about, they're the ones that own. They have the power, not the governments.
Quite scary. And then I've watched Disney movies. Often there ends up being a good person at that takes over and leads for the purpose of the betterment of the world. But it doesn't
Well,
feel like it in this case.
you might think Elon Musk's, with that person, but he's
Yeah.
an alien, isn't he?
Yeah, that's right.
Everyone says he's an alien. So do you think that there is, I know that there's historical things about that because they did things like in America they did the Document of Independence. What is that
Yeah.
called?
Declaration of Independence.
Yeah. So those people, right? They were all part of what we call the Freemasons. So
Yeah.
George Washington and all that. So when you look at that document and you turn it around, all their signatures are there. But has it continued? That's the thing. That's the conspiracy. Are they
Yeah.
still doing things secretly?
Yeah.
I don't
So
know.
I think I remember when I watched The Matrix, and it must have been a pretty impressionable time of my life because I remember thinking, like, could it possibly be that the way we live is so heavily orchestrated and manipulated by, like, and so say the Illuminati, like, to me it takes more than just having a controlling bunch of blokes. It takes and women or whatever it is. It takes a little bit more sort of manipulated foresight into what's coming up and how you're
Yeah.
going to navigate. Like, it's really quite ugly if it
Yeah.
is that deeply entrenched.
Well, it is, right? So, for example, you've heard of the World Agenda. Have you heard of that?
No.
So the world agenda is real, and you have to think about that. Think about it more as a good thing, okay? So every 15 years, right, all the world gathers to look at the world agenda.
Yeah. Yep.
So the world agenda for 2020, which we're in now, was actually put together in 1982.
Oh, wow.
That long ago. So what we're experiencing now was created back then. So the agenda now is for 2063.
Wow.
So they're doing stuff that's, I guess
David Attenborough is obviously not on that list.
They call that planning, right? So what they do is they look at infrastructure and they look at all the stuff to make sure that everything's in place. And because we don't appreciate, I guess, what that means.
No.
Like in 1982, for them to say, okay, we need to do this, this, and this, that means they've got all that time to do it. But the conspiracy with the 2020 agenda is that when you read between the lines, because I've read the agenda, right? It's on the internet, but when you read it, it is basically all about population control.
Oh my gosh, don't even go there.
So it's all because what they talk about, what the plan is in the agenda is that everything that we use, like water, electricity, all that's going to be owned by one company.
Oh, wow.
So they want it to be one company. Yeah, because apparently the conspiracy or whatever it is about what's coming up next is that water will be the new money.
Water will be.
Well, look at if America's 59 degrees, water will be the new currency because water in some countries is already scarce.
Yeah.
Like some countries, some cities or whatever in Brazil don't have water now.
Actually, you actually hit a really good point because you always think water obviously never leaves. Like, we've got a set amount of water available to us just in different forms, but you never think about the carrying capacity of our population and how much water there actually is to go around. It's huge.
Well, if we go back to the very first conspiracy, the global warming thing, it has to be impacted by that. And what I think that will look like is that we'll just end up living like people in Africa.
Yeah.
There'll be no water. If there's no water in the city and we have no water at all, right, one day, then we'll just become like them and they survive. They don't have water. The world just becomes that because really there are people already experiencing what we're talking about.
Yeah. Well, we have here in Australia. We've had terrible times.
Yeah. So it's that sort of stuff. How do we get, apparently water is being sold now. Like for those farmers.
It is. Yeah, there's huge amount of money that's been happening in Victoria since the very first sort of chronic droughts that we've had, or certainly Australia. I think going back to the Illuminati side of it, there must be some very wise souls to have the foresight and understanding of stuff.
You're so gorgeous. I love. Okay, so go on. I was assuming you were going to say something else. Go on. I thought you were going to say that the people in that section are wise, but you do realize that they're
Well,
greedy pigs.
no, they're greedy pigs, but I just think that they've got such a that's quite a skill to be able to project that far into the future. Like, it's a pity that they can't do it for good.
They're not doing it for good. What they want is a world where their life is so convenient. So they now know that there's too much people.
Yeah.
They have to try and get rid of people.
And
They just want to have a good life. Do you think do you think the Illuminati, right, if they exist, are wearing masks? Do you think that they're actually in restrictions, or do you think that they're doing what they want?
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
I don't know. What do you think? Do you think they are, or do you think that they're just living a glamorous life somewhere else?
I'm exhausted by the whole.
Hang on, let's talk about something that's not exhausting.
Yeah, no, it's exhausting me.
Let's talk about HIV/AIDS.
Yes, I wanted to talk about that.
Like, there's a conspiracy that HIV/AIDS was one of those situations, right?
Has this only recently come to light, though, Joe? Has this been going?
No, I watched the documentary a long, long time ago. But you got to remember that what we said at the beginning, when people say something that doesn't fit the norm, remember the norm is what TV tells you. You're deemed crazy. But now, because of COVID, is coming to light. Because HIV and COVID come from the same family.
Oh,
and because COVID they're doing so much research. Apparently, they found a cure for HIV. So there's going to be a cure soon.
That's wonderful.
But just remember, right? It's taken all that time.
And
so COVID will not get a cure for over 30 years. So we've taken 30 years to find a cure for AIDS.
Yeah.
And COVID helped with that. Now this is what's going to help. COVID is basically the same as AIDS. That's just a different strain. People are dying and all that. But back then, it was done through sexual transmission and all that. Now this one's done through spit, right? But so the conspiracy is the same as Wuhan. Apparently, they say that AIDS, HIV, was actually man-made, and it was meant to kill in Africa. But what happened was someone brought it into America, and then that's how it happened. And the government ignored it.
In Africa,
just all the poor people.
Oh my word!
It's supposed to just clear out population, so they don't have to pay for. Remember, in their eyes, those people don't bring income.
Yeah.
So they don't have any. They're more of a debit.
This is back to this population control.
Well, that's that country doesn't. They don't pay them taxes because they're not working. They're poor, so the government has to pay all the time. So what's easier?
Yeah.
Wipe them out. But someone brought it back to America, New York, and that's how it started in our world. And then because of airplanes and because of it was a sex thing, it wasn't meant to be a sex thing. Because when you think about South Africans and all those dying, they don't. It's done through other ways, right? But the conspiracy is that back then, when they didn't know anything about it, they based it on what you felt.
What do you mean?
They didn't have a test. So in Africa, they look. Oh my God, you've malnutritioned. You're tired. You've got AIDS. But they just had hunger.
They might not have. Yeah. Wow.
And they did that right. Apparently, the conspiracy is. Because in Africa, for every HIV person, they receive from the World Organization money. So they overpopulated. So the conspiracy is that the number of people with AIDS is not real. Right? Okay. Secondly,
I think now they test properly, though.
Yeah, now. I'm talking about back in the 80s. Remember, you got to remember that Reagan and all that didn't even acknowledge the word AIDS for 7 years.
Yeah.
All those people died because of that government.
Yeah, yeah.
But the other thing is that this girl, right? I saw this thing. This girl went to 7 countries and had HIV tests, and she was positive in 2 countries and negative in the others.
What?
I know. So we don't know which one. She doesn't know if she's HIV or not.
And she was tested. Oh, wow.
She did a test. They did a thing on the testing.
Were they different tests in each country?
They were the same tests, but it showed you how the test was manipulated by what people saw.
Yeah.
So if you had a cold, for example.
We're hearing about the COVID testing. We're getting similar conspiracies coming up.
That's why it's connected, and people are still not waking up. We've been through this already.
I know. But I think
you got to remember, it's all about money.
I think it's all about money, but I also think what leads us down into getting consumed by conspiracies, because I think that's why they get a bad rap, isn't it? That you can get really consumed by a conspiracy because each of them highlights an area where we have relinquished control. Like we've how dare we have had this mask pulled over our face? I've got no control over my life. I'm being led by something.
Well, when you're in it, it would be terrible.
Yeah, well, totally.
But now we know about the HIV now.
Yeah.
It's proven, right? But imagine if you had COVID and you were told we don't know what's going on with what you're told,
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's
right? And we're not going to know till later. That's the thing that's annoying. Everything
and
gets
it is annoying. And again, that Bible of truth would be really helpful right now for us to actually not be kept as half-wits that just go with what
I mean, do you realize, back in the 80s when all those gay guys died,
Yes.
right? How do you think they died? What killed them? What do you think killed them?
Well, I suppose I'm being naive, but I just thought it was the virus.
No, the virus didn't kill them. It was the medication.
The medication?
So they gave most of the beginning, those people at the beginning, they gave them intense cancer medication that they thought was going to help, but that medication was so toxic that it destroyed their immune system and killed them. And that's why
if they hadn't have taken it,
they would have survived. So I know friends of mine that
ARVs, obviously.
Yeah, this is pre-cocktail stuff. So this is AZT. So AZT was what killed them. Okay. So they had like an illness, but then they gave them. Imagine it was like a cold, and they then gave them chemo.
Yeah, right.
So and a friend of mine who had HIV, who has HIV back then, he refused, and he's still alive.
Yeah, right. So you can see then why there are people concerned about vaccinations with COVID.
Yes, right, because they found HIV in the vaccination.
Oh, did they? But then also, to hear that something has already gone amiss before, you'd be scared of history repeating itself, aren't you?
The thing that we should be thinking about is it took that long for them to even come close to curing it now. So COVID is we've already in a year got another variant.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, and God knows how many others there are. So how do we know in 1 year, maybe 2 years, this thing we're going to inject? How do we know what that is?
No.
How do we know that there's not going to be side effects?
Yeah.
With birth defects or anything? We don't know.
Well, I know this is the whole thing, isn't it? And I guess I think what I'm finding really interesting with all of this, and I think I find it interesting with almost every conspiracy, certainly the global warming one, and certainly COVID as well, is how it splits a population into half, and we can get really quite defensive and protective and unhumanly on our divide.
Yes.
That I'll attack you because you're getting the vaccine. And
well, I'm wondering if that's because of social media. I don't, if you think, I know we were younger when AIDS was around, but really it was all dependent on what we see on the news.
Yeah.
Right? So social media has changed a lot. Like, there was still hate and all that back then because it was a much more bigger issue. But the reality is that, imagine what it would have been like if there was social media then.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Yeah.
So think that we didn't know.
Because it feels like we divide very easily this day.
Did you know about the medication thing? Did you know that Reagan did not acknowledge it? So for years, people were dying and they were saying, we need help.
I feel like I've seen a movie about that.
Yes. And so he did nothing. And then only until straight people got it that he did something. So that meant that the whole government let all these people die.
So, but then, or did the Illuminati?
Well, it was the Reagan government who was in charge of the health fund.
Yeah.
The other government, like when you look at Clinton, who's the other side, that changed them when Reagan got kicked out. It was Reagan who was anti. He was anti.
Yeah, right.
There was a whole Bible Belt thing.
Yeah.
Those people deserve to die because they're gay, right? And it's no different to like the Jewish thing with how they killed all the Jewish people.
Yeah,
because that's also a conspiracy theory.
Well, yeah, you've mentioned that before. I haven't heard of that before.
That the Holocaust was not real.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I still find that hard to understand.
I find that happened. Yeah, you find it hard to understand it happened.
No, I know it happened, but I find it hard just picturing it.
Yeah,
like thousands. Like imagine trains arriving, and you have no idea because there's no social media. You don't know where you're going. Right? Imagine being in a train. You've been on the train for 4 days with hundreds of people. There's only a bucket, right? And then you get off the train and they just tell you you're having a shower and then they gas you. I mean, I can't even. I don't know. I just don't know how to feel about that.
I know it doesn't feel like it should be actually humanly possible to imagine, does it?
Yes, I know. Like, do you feel? How do you deal with those sort of things?
How do I deal with what my adverse?
Like when you see big things like that on the news, do you feel emotional, or do you just? I mean, I'm not saying this in a rude way, okay? Or do you find that to survive, you've got to disconnect?
I think.
You know what I mean?
I think disconnect and put a naive hope in things getting better. I think too, which is really, but that's me because you know me, I'm a bit of a happy, half full person, and I probably do put my blinkers on to keep myself safe and protected.
Well, then so right now the current thing is Israel, right? So the
Yep.
war that's going on there.
Yeah, yeah, and
You know,
all.
like I don't understand why we're still doing this sort of stuff.
I know, because is it actually really quite sad and twisted that that's the human psyche?
It's men, I reckon.
Well, I wasn't going to say it.
We've always said it though. It's men.
I know, but that
Because
doesn't.
they're fighting over ego.
But it's also because they've been put in that position to feel like that is life or death important to fight for.
Well, if you think about it, the
warm and fuzzy.
Jewish world, right? If you believe everything has been suffering since the Bible, you know,
Yeah,
they were in the desert with Moses for 40 days and 40 nights, so they've always suffered. So
yeah,
it seems like this sort of accepted this suffering plight,
yeah,
right? And so that feeds the wars and all that, because there's always this thing about, you know, we want our land or we want this. I mean,
yeah,
like
yeah.
freaking, it's such land.
So it's then, let's get my lovely happy-go-lucky side of things then, creating a world full of beautiful, sensitive beings, male and female now, will end in light and happiness and Illuminati that are full of love and create joy, and that will be my conspiracy.
No, I think it's a beautiful hope. I think that we have to do it in ourselves first.
I know. Well, this is the thing. There's a lot
And then you become connected to your tribe, and that gets bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
I still think that we're in a world of fighting, and we until we stop fighting. Remember, this is a new thing.
Yeah, we fight a lot.
We have to blow up, and then we'll subside. Well, and do you want to say another one? Because I've got another one I want to ask you.
Okay, do one, because I've probably only got time for one more.
I wanted to ask you, like, what do you feel then about, you know, your happy thing? How do you feel about the fact that there's rumors or conspiracies that there is chemtrails and fluoride abuse totally allow women not to have children? What's that word for that? What are they doing with that sterilization? Like, so sterilization is happening apparently now. So that solves the population thing.
Yeah, I know. I get that same sick to my feeling stomach as I got when you talked about the Holocaust.
Well, do you think that that's connected to, you know, because if you notice, there's less women are getting pregnant.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I mean, I know in my family, everyone has problems. The problem thing is very common now.
Yeah, that you have to. Most people having to do IVF.
Yeah. So is that connected to the conspiracy, or do you think it's connected to something else as a woman?
What do you think? Or is it just an evolution of us growing?
Well, what do you think as a woman? What's happened that's different? What's happening that's different for women to make them not have children?
Well, I honestly haven't really cast a thought to the fact that we're down. But you are completely right. That is definitely, but then I guess I put a little bit of that to the fact that I'm noticing now as a mother with friends who are getting pregnant. Maybe it was happening before, but I don't think quite to the same extent. And I think it's we're having children a bit later, are we?
Well, yes, but the thing is that, you know, something's happened because the problem is it's now very common. Right? If you think about it, it's common. It's harder. A lot of people don't talk about it. I don't know. Part of me thinks it's maybe connected to the climate change again. Like, I think it's got to do with what we're doing to our bodies. We don't realize, you know, when you see those things, how much we breathe in that's not good.
And when you think about it, like, we are actually just animals on a planet, so we're going to adapt to our environment, aren't we? And and I guess on the flip side of that is doing that different to living in a country where you're only allowed one child?
Well, we have to do something. I mean, what do you think? Do you think that but the thing is that they're not telling you.
Yeah, okay.
I think that, you know, at least
you don't have any control over whether or not you can have.
I mean, you're just drinking the water. It's just, you know, I mean, I don't have. Have you seen chemtrails? Have you seen them?
Horrible. Yes.
What are they doing? Oh, what are they spraying us with?
Yeah.
I heard so many rumors that they're spraying us with mental health stuff.
Mental health stuff.
Yeah, so we're all depressed.
Oh my gosh.
There's so many different rumors, because why are they spraying us? Apparently, you know, there's people are denying that they're there. So they're not really telling you what they're doing, but I've seen them.
Yeah.
Like, what is that all about?
Well, you've seen them spraying in Melbourne.
No, I've seen them. Yeah, haven't you seen the planes in Melbourne?
No, not spraying.
Oh my God, there's heaps. I've got photos. I'll send them to you.
Yes, please send them to me.
Yeah, there's chemtrails in Australia.
Well, I know that there's a lot of talk down our way because there's been a lot of sickness from, I think, chemicals that were used to clear land or to, I don't know, poison crops and stuff.
See, this is where I get depressed when it's all this stuff.
To me, I find it even more depressing if that is actually, well, it would be really depressing if they're deliberately sterilising the population, but it also...
Well, you got to remember, in their mind, it's not deliberate. That's the thing that we need to get understand. In their mind, like, it's going back to the smoking thing, everyone has an idea of what they think works, right? But then later on, we find out it doesn't work. So, for example, if we look at immunisation, right? Some of the immunizations caused rubella.
Yeah, yeah.
Right now, they didn't know that till later. So I don't think we're going to know what's happening now till
So
later.
you think that this chemtrail stuff is
Yeah,
not?
I think that they think it's good. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
I think that they're doing it because they think it's maybe making the world, it's helping us in some way.
But do you think they're maybe just being a bit too flippant with these decisions without really doing what they need?
Well, we're doing it right now with COVID.
So that's a bad sense of human responsibility to be willing to take the risk on an experiment.
They're doing it right now with COVID. This is what I think this is when we have to start becoming louder.
Yeah, we do.
We just accept the two vaccines.
Yeah,
We're not, the people that are saying no are being shunned, right? So I know that we have to let people do what they want, right? So I don't know if you heard the news today. So it's now becoming more and more apparent that you will not be able to work unless you've been vaccinated.
See, we're going to get into dangerous territory here.
I heard slowly it starts.
Country one, and I thought that's a bit harsh. When we live in a country with people who need to visit,
See, the conspiracy also involves something deeper. So you live in Geelong, right?
Yes.
I live in Port Cook. In the future, if COVID continues to mutate, we're going to have districts. So I can't leave Port Cook and you can't leave Geelong.
Will there be a Hunger Games?
It'll be that's the thing.
District C.
You know, it's going to get, like, if this gets worse, right, and we have lockdowns all the time, what will happen is rather than locking down all of Melbourne, they'll just lock down a district.
But then you hear about countries. Someone told me this morning that Singapore has got this plan to release their population and connect again gradually. So the steps that they need to take.
Yeah, I think if we've got a plan until what happens is that we would have that plan, and now the Delta's in here. Now we're starting all over again. Yeah. That's the problem. Now, Europe and all that, it's in summer. So there'll be another virus coming out next year. Yeah. It's not going to stop, darling.
So
one last question before we go then. Okay. Robots. I want to know what you think about robots. Are we all going to end up being robots?
I love this.
You know, like, because Elon Musk wants all of us to inject an implant to cure us, right?
Yes.
Which will then we're semi-robot.
Yeah, we are, exactly.
Do you want to be a robot or not?
Talk about sitting on the fence of, would I want my children to be ensured a long, healthy, disease-free life, or would I say no? That's a very...
Can I ask you about that? Like, how do you feel about their future? Like, because they've
petrified.
Don't be petrified. But the reality is, when I was born, the Vietnam War was on.
Yeah.
So my mum was petrified. You know, I think that it's all relevant. But do you feel that they're going to be in a world where we have no idea? They will one day.
No, and I guess every mother would say this of their children's generation. I feel like this is the generation of hope. I feel like
you're so gorgeous.
They're quite wise little beings. This
sure. But what about when we add all the other things to that?
Well, I know.
Like, you know, have you heard that we're moving towards a virtual reality world? Like they've already opened a gallery. All the galleries now are going online. Yeah. All the artwork, right? There's no real. Did you hear about that painting that was digital? The digital painting that sold for $89 million. It was just a freaking JPEG.
Oh my gosh, it's terrible, isn't it?
You can buy land online, babe. You can buy land.
But you know what's so sad though is that when I take my children to experience old school tactile things, the joy that comes from them as opposed to doing it virtually, like that's not something that we can just discount. We can't just disconnect that unless you're right. We're all going to be depressed, sprayed beings.
It'll just take time. That's all. I think that the COVID thing is a big factor.
Yeah, it is. It's really
and like I think we have to not be in denial. But I think also you shouldn't be scared because remember they don't know what we know. It's unless it's like really dangerous. But for us, it may seem dangerous. But for them, it's going to be normal.
Yeah.
So we're going to be the old farts going, "Oh, what's that music?" Right? But because we're comparing it to the time that I bet you any money there'll be talks about. Do you remember the time before COVID? That's what's going to happen.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
And then there's going to be people that won't work. See, the working thing scares me a little bit.
Yeah.
Because they've only announced it for healthcare workers.
Yeah.
It's compulsory.
Yes, I saw that. I did.
But then someone said that if that gets done, then it'll come out.
Yes. Yeah.
All right.
Well,
I love this talk.
I know it's fun. We solve the world's problems.
So you said something at the beginning. Can you repeat that? You said something like, "Is the conspiracy the truth, or is thinking the conspiracy the truth?" What did you say?
Yeah. No, I said, I said,
Is it
yeah. So we've got the conspiracies and
yes,
we've got the truth.
non-conspiracy? Yeah, the truth.
So is the truth the conspiracy? Is what
Yes,
we're being, yeah, which
I think that's
that's the
something really.
biggest conspiracy in all of it, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe we are in the Matrix.
Woo, like in your background there.
Kimbo, I love you. Thank you.
I love you too, Joe. Thank you for your time. It's always
Maybe
fun.
maybe you're Neo. Maybe you are the one from the Matrix.
Oh, I'd love to be Keanu Reeves. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I love about you? I love that even though we talked about really heavy stuff, you
Yep.
always end up at that happy place. You're such a beautiful thing. I'm gonna like hang up on you and go research all this stuff now, and you're like going, "Nah, it's all good. It's all happy." Our little Illuminati happy people are gonna save us.
I'm going to start a
Maybe that's
gang
the
of 7-year-old
conspiracy.
happy Illuminatis.
Be careful, she is the Illuminati. All right, this is Joey from Secret Men's Business,
This is Kim from Her Tribe Within. Thank
and
you.
we'll see you soon for the next 20 questions. Bye.
Bye.
You are optimistic.